Yeah, just want to clarify. The pictures you were seeing on screen there, the drone footage, that was from yesterday. That way, it did appear to be a little bit slippier, although we do have potential for a little bit of rain in the air later on today. It wasn't forecast, but I think we do potentially have some coming. Grid is up on the screen, though, for heat number 2. You will see some of these drivers for the first time that weren't in heat number 1. So Thomas Percox and Bobby Peet start on the front row, with Harris Roberts and Joshua Owen row 2. Thomas Potter and Freddie Lines are on row number 3. Mason Webster starts 7th alongside Jensen White, with Rio Wardley and Sam Howell completing the top 10. Amy Peacock and Harry Samuel will start on row number 6. Row 7 sees Freddie Hauser go alongside Jack Collinson, Larry Price and Mason Wheatley on row 8, with Tom Drake starting 17th alongside Ayrton Rye. Top 20 will be completed by Max Grittrex and Isabella Stansmore Wilson, with Lewis Hall and Max Gilman starting on row 11, Stanley Clark and Maximus Lewis on row 12. Nate Gage starts in 25th alongside Sam Hayes. Harris Alley and Isaac Huburn are 27th and 28th respectively. Scarlett Percox and Elliot Dimelo complete the 30 kart Honda Cadet grid here at Fulbeck. We did mention that some of these drivers we haven't seen today. That's because we've got such a huge sign on of Hondas as the Harris Roberts kart goes up onto the stand. There is potential. We're looking out the window here, Alex. The checkered flags are about to go out, but the slippery surface flag has made an appearance at all the marshals' posts to give the drivers that are out on track at the moment the potential awareness that it's raining, although I'm sure the droplets on their visor are going to give it away, and the droplets in that puddle there as well. Now, is everybody going to go with slicks, or is somebody going to roll the dice and stick some wets on here? Let's see, because
it is a tough call, but you know, sometimes you've got to have discretion as the better part of valor in your skill set as a karter, and this is where that key decision. There's Alex Owen, Joshua's dad, fettling away. I think he's going to be changing. We see the number 20. Wets are being prepared, David.
Yeah, so that's for Thomas Potter.
Yeah.
And looks like we might end up with one person on each corner at this rate if some people do decide to mix it up and go. But they may well run out of time, Alex, because looks like the circuit is the preceding race is clear.
Yeah.
And we are running to time, so it may well be a case that those carts have to be put on the ground, because we could be going out onto circuit as Jensen White holds his arms out, and I'm not sure whether he's catching the rain or he's confused by everybody putting the carts up on the trolleys, and he's not too worried about. He's thinking, what's all the fuss about?
That's the general sign for saying, what the heck's going on, everybody?
Yeah, everybody's putting the carts back down though, so it looks like most are going out on slicks. But, remains to be seen whether someone down the tail end of the field, you know, on this mixed-up grid, sort of rolls the dice. As looks like that's the 17. That's Darryl Peacock working hard to change the wheels on Amy's kart, and they're going to roll the dice and put the wets on. Looks like in the background as well, that's Larry Price's machine, still running the TA Industries, Ben Adrian's machine from last year. Looks like they're about to get that one with the wets on. So it looks like all hands on deck down there. As the man changing the wheel, becomes very apparent that there's a camera in his face. Just having a quick look at the preceding heat that we covered here in Junior Rotax. Penalties coming in for Oliver Buckton. He's been docked to place for contact. So I think that was part of the incident we saw down at the complex. And sadly, 2 disqualifications coming in out of that one, with Jacob Vickers, who did very, very well and ran towards the front of the pack. Oliver Green as well, both DQ'd for exceeding the maximum width at the rear, which in terms of that's the wheels out too far.
Yeah.
And that means that they have been unfortunately removed from the standings of heat number 1. They'll pick no points up for that, which is going to mean that they're probably going to be starting the final from the backs. No matter how good they do in the remaining 2 heats that they've got, they're just not going to amass the amount of points to put them anywhere near the front for the final, and that's going to hamper Jacob Vickers massively, because we know he's got the pace to run at the front.
Yeah, that's very true. But there are going to be other opportunities. You know, these cadets where we've got the best part of well over 40 drivers subscribed for this opening round of the season, which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, we were at Kart Mania. I was there at Silverstone for a couple of days. The amount of interest we picked up, and to have north of 110 entries here for the opening round of the championship. You mentioned drivers like Jacob Jukes, who's running in the Ultimate Kart Championship this weekend at Wilson Mill. Good luck to him. We'll see him later on. You know, Sandro Ballesteros admitted to me on the paddock walk I did yesterday, he's going to be here for some of the rounds, but with the Junior Saloon Kart Championship that the Cadet Kart Championship has an affiliation with, we announced that at Kartmania late last year at Silverstone. The way that you were alluding to, the way that Matty has an idea and he goes with it, he's gone all belts and braces and full throttle, guns in, and from my experience working with Matty, no 2 days, not even the same 2 hours, let alone the same, but he's a good bloke and he means well, and his passion, his love for this sport shows. And the good thing is we're going to have that Jenson Button complex now, you know, where drivers are going to be on slicks. If anyone might remember a certain Australian Grand Prix when he was running with McLaren, chanced it, went off the track, but then went to win the race. And that was his first race for McLaren, if memory serves me correctly, back in 2010.
It was, and it looks like most of them are going for wets, and it certainly does look like out the ComBox window that there is, doesn't look like it's heavy rain, but it's certainly coming across the track, and always look at the coming down. That's certainly getting a little bit harder.
Yeah, I would imagine that our race director, and apparently I've just heard that the far part of the circuit, T1, is washed with rain at the moment, so these track conditions have changed significantly. Yeah, you can see there already on the screen for those watching at home. The weather has picked up significantly and it's gone south a little bit, I'm afraid to say.
Certainly wasn't expecting this when we had a look at the forecast at the start of the day. It looked like it was going to just be cloudy for the most with the occasional breakthrough of sunshine, and that looked like it broke through in the third race of the day for Minimax practice, but it has gone very, very wrong on the rain front. Looks like most of the field now being given the opportunity to put their wets on, though they will have to speed this up because we are obviously running to certain times for starting and ending race. We have a schedule in place, and that's why we run to time plus laps rather than just laps, because if it does tip it down and we go to laps, then it's going to take forever. Looks like that's Freddie Lines chipping in on a tyre change on the front as well. So even the drivers are actually making a huge contribution to changing it. There's a few of them actually have opted to stay on the slick tyres. And we'll certainly see how they fare going into the race. They're going to have a tricky opening to the race, that's for sure.
Right.
Certainly in that run down to the first corner.
Well, on our position here in commentary, we've just seen the windows being absolutely pelted with rain.
Yeah, so even I might put wets on in here.
I came prepared just in case, and that was from Friday afternoon when I landed here at Fulbeck. And yeah, this is where you're going to see. I mean, look, even on the 54, they've still got the plastic wrapping on the Dunlop wets.
Yeah, they definitely weren't expecting to use them this weekend, were they? And you leave that plastic wrapping on to sort of maintain the compound of the tyre. Now they're having to rip them off. Harris Roberts, though, a driver who we're expecting to be challenging for the championship here in CKC this season, still on slicks. Yeah,
I mean, considering obviously when I've been to, I'm hearing now that rain is sort of starting to ease off. So as I said, it's the Jenson Button equation here. So will Harris Roberts, will the 33 also have an opportunity still staying on those slick tyres? So
I think the thing is, Alex, as well, because CKC is controlled in terms of you're allowed 2 sets of slicks for the season and 2 sets of wets, is that by throwing them out on the wets on a drying track, you potentially, you're not going to ruin today, but you may ruin the tail end of your season when you're having to run incredibly warm wets because you've ruined them at Fulbeck on a drying track.
And especially at the first round of the championship, as soon as you get that second allocation, you're going to be put between a rock and a hard place, David.
Absolutely. Looks like we are about to go. The circuit has definitely been clear and the dummy grid has been cleared. So we are about to go racing then for heat race number 2. They're going to get a full rolling up lap, so those on slicks are at least going to get an opportunity to test it out. They're going to have a difficult opening couple of laps, that is for sure. Alex, I know you've got loads of social media stuff to do. You've got results to chip in from that previous race where I think we've had at least 1 or 2 drivers removed. I'm sure we're going to speak to you, and certainly throughout not only today, but throughout the season at the events that you're going to be here with when that fits around your very, very busy calendar.
Tell me about it.
So we look forward to seeing you. Issues there, though, for the 57. There's only 3 wheels on that wagon, and they're going to miss their race. Joshua Owen, as we've got a couple of drivers off at the first corner as well. down there. The 12 is beached, and Larry Price as well. And that number 12 is just spinning. Max Wheatley, he's going to need some marshal assistance. But as there, he's actually out the cart, and that cart was still going. It's almost as if his throttle stuck open there on the 12 of Max Wheatley. That cart is going to be taken back into. He's going to be able to get it round because it's a standing start, so they should be able to wait for him if it's well. However, when he did get in that cart last time, the wheels were just continuously spinning in the gravel, even though he was out of it. So let's see whether that's a throttle issue. He has been given the all clear to go round by the marshal. So Max Wheatley in the number 12, he's going to roll round. He might end up having to start actually from the back of the field, which is going to be bad for him. Larry Price was down there as well as the circuit. Now, the rain has stopped, and the circuit will continue to dry over this remaining, with this 8 minutes plus 1 lap race. Will it dry enough? There's certainly no standing water. Those runners that are out on wets potentially could go well in the opening part of the race, but if it dries so quickly, then looks like we are about to go racing. We're waiting for the 12 to come through to take up his position of Wheatley. So we're on the front row. We've got one runner in Bobby Pete on wets, one runner in Tom Percox on slicks. And then behind, we've got Harris Roberts on slicks, Tom Potter's on slicks, Mason Webster's on slicks. Almost everybody, though, on the outside row. Jensen White off P6, he's on wets. Then we've got the 83 as well. If we think they're also on the wets on the outside. That could be the 63, actually. Difficulty picking that number up off the side of the cart out the com box window. So we've got a number of drivers on wets, a number of drivers on slicks. So even before the race has got going, a very, very interesting dynamic playing out here at Fulbeck. We are waiting for Wheatley to position that number 12 back in where he should be. You will notice as well throughout this race a number of drivers not out in heat number 1 because we're running on a 3 out of 4 format for the Hondas. So some of these drivers have raced already today, some of them haven't. We've got comments coming in, say go Max. Good luck to Ayrton as well. Tom French has been on. There's a bit of chat going on between Tom French and Owen Morris in the live chat. Keep that one going, guys. We enjoy seeing your chats as well as you getting in touch with us here in the com box. Circuit has been cleared. Final few through the gates. The 5-second board is up. Look for the lights in the top right-hand corner. They're red, they're out, they're going. Harris Roberts makes a lightning start and drives round Tom Percox as the 54 of Bobby Pete goes down to the first corner. He's on the outside, doesn't need to defend. Those on slicks will have to brake so much earlier than those on wets. Can everybody get round that first corner? And Thomas Potter on slicks has slid wide and he's into the gravel and he's beached. Maxie Lewis is round as well, as is the 18 of Ayrton Rye. We've got Jack Collinson spun on the outside and Thomas Potter beached in the gravel. The marshals managed to do a grand job in digging him out, but he's almost half a lap behind the leaders. We've got numerous carts round at the second chicane. One of them, the 44, Lewis Hall. Maxie Lewis has managed to thread his way through after that early spin. Stanley Clark as well involved on the opening lap into the second chicane. Yellow flags is still out down there as the marshals get everybody facing in the right direction. Think we've got a clear track there now as well. But what an opening lap, and the wet runners are miles away in this early part of the race. Bobby Pete leading the way then from Jensen White. Then we've got Amy Peacock who's come through from the tail end of the top 10. Sam Howells, Harris Roberts, he's your leading slick runner in P5, but you can see there that car is just washing out all over the place, understeering as he fails to find purchase in them slick tyres in the early part of the race. And now he's getting overtaken left, right and possibly centre as well as the 19 of Tom Drake comes alongside. Looks like he's on slicks as well. But let's see whether as the track continues to dry with these continuous carts going round, as we've got a spin in the middle part of the corner there. That looks number 8 of Sam Howell. So as we calm it down a little bit here in this Honda Cadet heat number 2, as Harris Roberts on the slicks has to get on the brakes early and actually gets forced very, very wide there by the 19 of Tom Drake. So Drake definitely in the back of Harris Roberts, as we mentioned, on them slicks, having to get the cart stopped incredibly early. Look at the times down the side of your screen because they're all going to go blue as this is their first racing lap. But you'll be able to see, have a look at Harris Roberts in the 45, have a look at Tom Drake as well. They are somewhere near 5 seconds off the pace of them wet runners out there. at the moment with 6 minutes remaining. And what's happening here with these wet runners is that they are using them tyres. The block on them, it's a softer compound tyre, so the block moves itself around and gives them far more grip out there on the circuit. But then as the track continues to dry, because it's a soft compound, it will absolutely ruin those tyres if the track dries properly. And you've got to think, 5 minutes ago it was raining, now the sun's out, and Larry Price on slicks has spun on the exit of the first chicane. And yeah, you can see now, glistening off the damp tarmac, the sun here at Fulbeck is back out once again as the 19 of Tom Drake tries to get alongside. In the background there, Isabella Stansmore-Wilson. Max Gilman in the number 50 is facing the wrong way down at the turn 4 hairpin. He's on the outside and he has to wait for all of the field to come through. He'd worked his way up into 15th place from being down outside the top 25 at the start on this random format. And he has had a real issue and he's going to drop all the way down the tail end of the field. The 19 of Tom Drake. Earlier we said I thought he was running on wet on slicks. He's actually on wets as Max Wheatley tries to get alongside again to return the favour into that complex of corners. The top 10 though at half race distance. Pete, White, Peacock, Lines, Howell, Howsigo, Whiteley, Drake, Gage and Stansmore-Wilson. All of those runners on wet tyres as they move down there in the inside. Looked like that was Nate Gage on Tom Drake. No, Drake's already through actually. That looks it was Wheatley getting caught up in the middle there, and Wheatley gives a nudge wide, I think, of Nate Gage in that corner. So Wheatley struggling to get it as he bounces it over the curb. Stansmore-Wilson closing in. She's on the tail of the top 10 and she's got a good run out of that final corner. Can't get alongside though into the chicane section. 3 minutes and 45 remaining then in this first race for most of them. First race for Stansmore-Wilson. She missed out on heat 1 because of this mixed format of grids. And she's trying to get alongside Max Wheatley. He's up into 9th place. And on the outlap, he was in the gravel and was allowed to retake his place. Stansmore-Wilson tries to get alongside, can't do so. And Wheatley slots into the position. Still both of these runners inside the top 10. As Stansmore-Wilson has a look over the shoulder at Harry Samuel. He's found his way past Rio Wardley. And they go to the inside, going past some lap traffic. And Stansmore-Wilson takes full advantage of that. Will she keep the footing round the outside of Wheatley? She can't, and Wheatley once again. And we see that a lot here at Fulbeck. The driver gets alongside down the inside into that hairpin and allows the driver to come back round the outside and back down the inside into the next complex of corner. And now the leader has been reeled in by Jensen White. White closing in the 58. Both of these runners on wets as Bobby Pete looks over his shoulder, and as soon as his head's facing back forwards, Jensen White is through and into the lead. 2.5 minutes remaining and Jensen White has made the move. As soon as Bobby Pete's head was back facing the right way, White was straight down the inside, hard on the brakes into the chicane and through into the lead. The circuit continuing to dry. The slick runners are now starting to close in terms of lap time, but it's still very, very even. Wets were definitely the way to go in this one. At least the top 10, all on the wet tyre. But ultimately, as they get towards the end of the season, as we spoke about with these runners only allowing 2 sets of wets for the entire season, is that if we have a particularly wet year, this could hamper them towards the end of the season, and it's only the first race for many of these runners. The top 10 then with 2 remaining. White now leading the way from Peters. There's a couple of overtakes down there. How's it go? Has to hand over his position for 6th place, looks like to Sam Howell, but now he's going to come back down the inside. We'll come back to the running order in a minute as Howsigo, and it looks like that's Howell as well. And the 19 of Tom Drake is going to get alongside. Drake is actually going to take track position even before the chicane. Tom Drake's going to come through, and in going for the 6th place off Howsigo, Howell I think is now going to drop from 5th on timing down into 7th place. And that often happens in karting. A driver goes for a position, puts everything into the overtake, and then overcooks it, and then loses a place because the driver behind is just so incredibly close. In the background, you saw Stansmore-Wilson, and it looked like Nate Gage is there in the background getting involved, or it could be Max Wheatley once again. Now, 1 minute remaining then for our Honda Cadet Heat 2. White, Pete and Peacock, the top 3. Lines, Howsigo, Drake, Howell, Gage, Stansmore-Wilson and Wheatley, the top 10 with Samuel, Harris, Alley, Wardley, Roberts, one of the slick runners off the start, Collinson, who had that issue. He was spun on the outside of the first corner. Thomas Potter's coming back through. He's up into the top 20, as is Max Gilman as well. They're both into 19th and 20th, respectively. 30 seconds remaining, so I think our runners may well get round before the clock elapses, so they're going to get 2 more laps. Out at the front, though, Jensen White pulling away from Bobby Pete. It looks like it was that Harris Alley there on the back of Harry Samuel. Down there into, and he's hard on the brakes. Runs wide, though, on exit. He's going to get the track position, though, is he? Unless the 22 can push the runner through, and Harris Alley makes the move stick and holds on. So he's having a strong day so far after a very, very competitive heat number 1, which saw him in 2nd place. He's now running on the outside of the top 10. He's up into in 10th, actually, as one of the runners drops all the way down. So Harris Alley makes up 2 places in 1 lap up into P10, with Wheatley, Samuel, Roberts and Wardley dropping down into 14th place. The time is elapsed, so next time they come round, they will have the last lap board. And Jensen White is down at the complex section. There's Harry Roberts coming through, sliding past Max Wheatley. Looks like Harry Samuel as well is there. Now he's right on the back of Harris Alley is Harris Roberts. And now is where the slick tyres are starting to come back into this, as Jensen White sets the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap, as he takes the last lap board. And he's so much quicker than everybody else out there, Jensen White. 55.5 is almost 2 seconds quicker than anybody else on circuit on that previous lap. We have some runners down in the 56s. That's Bobby Pete in 2nd place. He's done well there to hold on and stick with the rest of the pack as they come through. There is your leader, though, Jensen White. Just has to negotiate some traffic, but he's got 4 seconds, so he doesn't need to do anything silly. Doesn't need to risk a front fairing penalty by overtaking too aggressively on those lap traffic down into the complex section, because the gap is only 4.4, so he doesn't want to throw it away through a technicality. And I think he's just done well there just to stick it on the back of the pack. Through he comes, though, to take the checkered flag and victory in Heat 2. Jensen White with a commanding victory from Bobby Pete, who comes through for 2nd place.